AI Architecture Podcast.
All right, deep divers, get your scuba gear on because today we are going deep.
Deep dive.
Yes, into your research paper.
Okay.
It's called, and get this, a multidimensional analysis of collaboration and sustainable adoption within the UK architecture industry.
Catchy.
I know, right?
Yeah.
But really what we're talking about today is how architects actually work together, sometimes don't, to create greener buildings.
Right.
Which, let's face it, more and more these days, that's what we want to see.
Absolutely.
So to unpack all of this, we've got interviews with architects from those tiny firms all the way up to the big names, and of course, all the latest academic theories, and we even get a peek into some real-life projects to see how this actually plays out.
Yeah, some really fascinating case studies in this paper.
And one of the things that really jumped out at me, I don't know about you, but it's this whole cultural clash thing.
Oh, yeah.
Architects, clients, sustainability. It's like a recipe for, well, not always a disaster, but definitely some bumps along the way.
Yeah, for sure.
And it all seems to come down to this idea of the power distance index, which sounds very official.
It does, doesn't it?
But how do we explain it?
It is a bit jargony. How about this? Think about how comfortable you'd be to walk right up to your boss and say, you know what, I think there's a better way to do this.
Ooh, yeah.
How does that feel?
Depends on the boss.
Exactly. That's PDI in action.
Okay.
It's basically about how okay people are with hierarchy and questioning authority, right?
Yep.
And architects, let's just say they're not exactly known for blindly following the rules.
They do like to have opinions.
They do.
Strong opinions.
They're wired to challenge, debate, push the boundaries. And let's be honest, they kind of like being right.
Who doesn't?
True. We all do.
But the research shows that this kind of attitude, it can cause some friction, especially with clients who might come from backgrounds where, respecting authority is a much bigger deal.
Yeah, absolutely. Clients who might have a higher PDI.
Right.
And that clash of cultures, it can have a real impact on design decisions, especially when it comes to sustainability.
Yeah, because we're talking about things like eco-friendly materials, energy efficiency, all that good stuff that sometimes costs a bit more upfront.
Exactly. And architects with their low PDI,
they're not afraid to speak up.
they're going to push for it, even if it means, maybe ruffling a few feathers, challenging a client's brief a little bit.
Right, because they're thinking long term.
Exactly. Thinking about the building's impact years down the line.
Not just, let's get this done quick and cheap.
Exactly. Yeah, the bigger picture.
Whereas a client with a high PDI, they might be more like, ooh, budget first, green stuff later.
Yeah. And that's where things can get tricky.
Yeah.
Because you got these two different perspectives kind of butting heads.
And the planet's caught in the middle.
Exactly.
And it's not just theoretical, is it?
No, not at all.
Because your paper actually gives a real-world example. Project.
Oh, yeah.
Ring a bell. That does ring a bell, vaguely.
Yeah, that was a big one. A huge redevelopment project over in London.
Right.
And it ran into some serious delays, budget overruns, the whole shebang. And the paper suggests that, at least in part, it's this clash of working styles.
Right.
Architects, they wanted to push the envelope on sustainable design, really go all out. But some of the stakeholders were like, whoa, hold on, let's not get too crazy here.
So it's a balancing act.
It is a delicate
between pushing boundaries and keeping the budget folks happy.
And this kind of tension, it crops up again and again, doesn't it?
It does. It's like this underlying theme, this
unspoken thing.
And it makes me wonder, because we've talked about this cultural clash, right? This PDI mismatch. But then there's this whole other layer, this whole knowledge hoarding thing going on.
Right, like architects are sitting on this treasure trove of sustainable design knowledge.
Right. But are they sharing it?
Well,
not so much.
It's tricky because imagine you're an architect, you spent years, decades even, honing your craft, figuring out how to make a building that's not only beautiful,
right,
but also energy efficient, environmentally friendly, all of that.
Sustainable.
That knowledge is valuable.
Yeah, you can't just give that away.
Exactly. It's their bread and butter.
Right.
And the architecture industry, well, let's just say it's not exactly known for its huge profit margins.
Cutthroat.
Yeah. So you can understand why there's this instinct to hold on to what, to keep that competitive edge.
Like, this is my secret sauce. I'm not putting it on just any burger.
Exactly. And your paper, it actually quotes one architect saying, our knowledge is our IP. It's what sets us apart. It's how we win projects.
It's like a trade secret.
It is, in a way.
But then I think about it and it's like, okay, but how can we really expect to see, sustainable design become the norm if architects aren't sharing what they know?
Yeah, good point.
If they're not learning from each other, it seems like it has to be a two-way street.
Absolutely.
Right.
And the paper actually talks about this kind of knowledge paradox
Ooh, I like that.
where architects feel this pressure to hoard information,
Right.
to stay ahead of the game, but in doing so, it's actually holding back the whole industry.
Right, right.
It's like, imagine if medical researchers were like, nope, not sharing my cure for cancer, it's mine.
That would be bad.
Yeah. And in a way, it's kind of a similar thing with architecture, especially with this, global climate crisis we're facing. We need all hands on deck, sharing solutions, pushing each other to do better.
Okay, so I'm convinced sharing is caring, but let's play devil's advocate for a second. What about the fear of losing that individual brilliance, that unique spark that makes an architect stand out from the crowd?
Oh, I love that you brought that up because that's where things get really interesting. Because the paper actually argues that, this open source knowledge, it doesn't stifle individual creativity.
Right.
If anything, it can actually enhance it.
Okay.
Now, think about music for a second.
Oh, I do love a good analogy. Go on.
Musicians, they share chord progressions, they share rhythms, whole genres even, but they still create amazing, diverse, original music, right?
Totally.
Knowing the building blocks, it doesn't take away from the artist's ability to create something unique and beautiful.
Yeah, and actually it's like you're building on a foundation of shared knowledge so you can kind of
Push it further.
reach even greater heights. Exactly.
And in architecture, sharing knowledge, it doesn't have to mean just handing over, finished blueprints.
Right.
It's about fostering a culture of learning, mentorship, collaboration.
It's less about this is mine, you can't have it, and more about we're in this together.
Exactly. A rising tide lifts all boats,
That's
right?
it.
And the good news is, your paper, it highlights some really inspiring examples of this shift already happening.
Okay, good.
In the UK architecture scene, like take Hawkins Brown, for example, they developed this open source carbon calculator. It's called HBERT.
Yes. I remember that from the paper.
Yeah.
I'll be honest, I skimmed over that section a little. Tell me more.
So embodied carbon, it's basically the total carbon footprint of a building's construction. The materials, the transportation, the whole shebang.
Got it.
And it's a big deal for sustainability, right?
Yeah, huge.
And what Hawkins Brown did is they created this tool
Yeah.
that allows anyone, even small firms, to easily calculate the embodied carbon of their designs
Amazing.
and make more sustainable choices.
So they're leveling the playing field in a way.
Exactly. And it's not just about the tool itself, it's the ethos behind it.
Right.
This willingness to share something so valuable for the greater good.
Yeah. For the whole industry, for the planet, really.
Exactly.
That's a pretty powerful example, I'm not going to lie. But are there other ways that this whole knowledge sharing thing is playing out? Like, are there online platforms where architects are, connecting and exchanging ideas?
You know what? There are, and the paper talks about this too, the rise of these online platforms and communities
Okay.
as hubs for sharing knowledge. It's kind of like, imagine a digital library.
Okay.
But instead of dusty old books, it's full of blueprints and case studies and forums where architects can brainstorm solutions together.
So it's like a sustainability matchmaking service for buildings.
Right.
I need a roof that can withstand a hurricane and grow vegetables. Go.
Exactly. And these platforms, they're gaining popularity, especially with, the younger generation of architects.
Yeah, they get it.
They're all about that collaborative spirit.
Like we were saying, it's not about giving away your secret sauce. It's realizing that if we all share our recipes, everybody's food tastes better, right?
100%. And this whole shift towards a more open and collaborative culture, it's something the paper really emphasizes as crucial for the future of sustainable architecture.
Okay.
In fact, there's this quote from a young architect in the paper. They said, "The climate crisis is too urgent for us to be protective of our ideas. We need to be sharing them freely and figuring out solutions together."
Powerful stuff. And it really drives home the point that, we talk about all these different factors, the cultural shifts, the knowledge sharing, but at the end of the day, what's the one big takeaway we should all remember from your research, whether we're architects, clients, or just, people who appreciate a well-designed building?
For me, it's this. An architect's real competitive advantage, it's not about hoarding knowledge. It's about their ability to adapt, to learn, and to collaborate to solve these new challenges. The most innovative solutions, they often come when diverse minds come together, share their insights, and push each other to think differently.
So it's less about ego and more about the ecosystem.
100%. It's about fostering that culture of shared learning and collective progress. And that's not just in architecture, but any field that impacts, our planet's health.
Okay, so what I'm hearing is it's about realizing that we build a sustainable future by building it together, brick by a metaphorical brick.
Now you're speaking my language. And who knows, maybe someday soon, those metaphorical bricks will be made of hemp or mushrooms or some incredible material we haven't even thought of yet, right?
Right.
The possibilities are pretty much endless when we're open to collaborating and, really embrace these new ways of thinking and building.
So much food for thought, deep divers. Next time you walk by a building, take a second to appreciate not just the design, but also all those unseen forces that shaped it. The cultural norms, the knowledge sharing, the collaborative spirit.
Yeah.
Because in the end, the future of our built environment, it depends on all of us being willing to break down those walls, share what we know, and, build that more sustainable future together.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
That's a wrap.